Today I'm going to walk you through how to use Claude Code to build 5 common marketing roles: a copywriter, brand designer, social media manager, email marketer, and strategist. Most small businesses and solo entrepreneurs can't afford to hire a full marketing team. A freelance copywriter alone can cost somewhere between $50 to $150 an hour, and most AI tools still require you to copy and paste everything back and forth manually. Claude Code is an AI tool that actually sits within your computer, can read files, and execute tasks. I'm going to show you how to use it step by step for this project. Alright, before we dive in, there's going to be a couple downloads that you're going to make. The first one is the Claude desktop app. This is a lot different than the traditional Claude browser that you may have used just to chat with the AI. As you can see here with the Claude desktop app, there's 3 tabs: Chat, Code, and Code. So the chat interface you'll see has all the history of the same items that you'll find in the Claude browser app. However, there's a Code and Code, which Claude will ask you for permissions to access files on your computer. Code can complete very basic tasks such as organizing screenshots on your computer, scheduling out your routine, and finding insights into all the files that you might have. For Claude Code, this is where you can develop all kinds of apps and also troubleshoot the bugs for those apps. And this is what we'll be using for this video. To download the Claude desktop app, you're going to go to this link right here. And I'm going to link everything you need for this video in my description below. You're just going to go ahead and download based on the platform that you use, either if it's Mac or Windows. The other app that you're going to need downloaded is Visual Studio Code, and this is what you're going to be using to write and edit the Markdown files. Markdown files are basically instructions that you can provide to Claude Code about the items that you're trying to create. I will show you shortly how the Markdown files do look like. Finally, the last thing that you will need downloaded is a free Python library called Python Docs. What it does is that it basically can take any files that Claude Code generates and then convert it into a Microsoft Word document. This is great because then you can use that Word document to make any additional edits that you need, or also upload it to Google Drive so that you can make edits there and share it with your team. To do this, you'll just search for Terminal on your computer. Those of you with a Windows laptop, you'll just look for Microsoft Terminal. And you're going to type something like this, which is pip install Python docs. Now, for Mac users, you're going to have to add the number 3 right after pip. So it's going to be pip install Python docs. I forgot to add the dash, and here we go. All right, you'll see that for me, I've already installed this in the past. So in your case, it's going to show completed download instead of mine, which is saying like, hey, that's a new additional update if you need it. Now we have all our downloads done. The next thing you'll need is to create a folder on your computer. It can be anywhere, like on your desktop or your documents, and you're going to name it Marketing Files. You will also need your company logo. I do have a sample logo here. You're going to move that logo into your Marketing Files folder. So in the end, it's going to look something like this. And now we can go ahead and create our first Markdown file using Visual Studio Code. When you first open Visual Studio Code, it'll look something like this. You will first want to make sure you can open the folder that you just created, which is the Marketing Files folder. This will make sure that anything that you create will get automatically saved into that folder. You'll notice that you can access the logo from here also. As you create your files, they will all be listed here. Let's go ahead and create our first Markdown file. I'm going to call it brand/guide.md. And it says create a file. Now in this Markdown file, I'm going to provide very specific instructions about what my company is, who my audience is, and also very important brand style information. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste what I initially had for my brand guide. And again, this is all linked in my description. You're going to have to edit it to your company's liking. So in this case, this is just all sample fluff that I have in here. But there's a section about who I am. So in your case, you would update it to your company or your own personal brand, who your audience is, providing information about your brand style. So logo, color palettes, what kind of typography you use, and also imagery and graphic style. So this is just a starting template for you to use and edit. Once we have that, I'm going to go ahead and Command Save or just press File Save. And now we're going to go ahead and start using Claude Code. There's 2 things you're going to want to make sure to do. The first thing is point it to the correct folder. So in this case, you're going to select here and select choose a different folder unless it already shows you the option that you need. So I have here my marketing files folder that's on my desktop. The next thing is you'll want to make sure that you can connect to your local terminal. And to do that, you'll just select this and basically add your local connection here. So I already have that connected here. If you don't, just go ahead and click add connection. Then the first prompt we're going to use is this one right here. It says read/brandguide.md first. Use the colors, fonts, and styles in it as the guide for everything. My logo is also saved in that folder. So this is the starting foundation prompt that will basically set you up for success with building out all the tasks for all those different roles you're going to create. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And you'll see that it is starting to think and create something. So you'll see it's kind of summarizing some of the information in that Markdown file. It's taken a lot of our brand guides for primary colors, font styles, tone, logo, and now it's asking what would you like to create. So this is a good place to start your prompts. The first role we're filling is that of a copywriter. Copywriters usually write long-form marketing content such as a sales page, a blog post, or product description. And the prompt I'm going to use is right here. Again, this is something you're going to have to tweak depending on what you need. So if you need a blog post, then you're going to edit this prompt to be more specific to a blog post, and also the title of the content. So I have here now, write a sales page for a digital course called AI Income Blueprint. It's going to be a beginner-friendly course for working moms who want to use AI to build passive income streams. Include a headline, the problem, the solution, to what's inside the course, and a call to action. Now, this is the important part, which goes back to the Python library that we downloaded. Save it as a Word document called sales page doc. And we're going to go ahead and press edit right now. So throughout the process of asking Claude Code to create different items, you'll notice it asking for permissions to create and access different things on your computer. Go ahead and select always allow for project and always make sure to press allow as needed. All right, so we're done. There's one thing I want to point out. You'll notice here it says Python docs is available. Let me write the document now. What it was doing initially was basically setting up the way to convert any files that it generates in Claude Code into a document. And then here it says, let me write the document now, which I just said, go ahead. And it went ahead and created the document. As you can see, it says here that the sales page document is saved to your marketing files folder. And it also includes what's in it, a logo, headline, problem, solution, and so forth. So let's go ahead and see what this document looks like. All right, as you can see, it has created a sales page for me for a digital course on AI Income Blueprint. It included a lot of the things that I needed. And if you needed to tweak and add more to it, you can always go back to Claude Code and ask for what you need. Like, hey, can you add a section about what this course can offer and stuff like that. The next person on our traditional marketing team is a brand designer, and they typically create some sort of a brand style guide. Their job is to take everything that is about your brand, such as your color, your fonts, your logo, your voice, and turn it into a polished professional document that keeps your entire brand consistent. And that's what we're going to do in this step. We're going to ask Claude Code to read the brand guide Markdown again, but this time to create a fully formatted visual brand style guide as a PDF. So to do that, I'm going to use this prompt right here. And again, you'll find this all in my description. Read brand guide, act as a professional brand designer, and generate a polished one-page brand style guide as an HTML file. We're going to convert that later into a PDF, and I'll show you how to do that. The prompt does ask to include the following sections, such as a brand name and tagline, a logo section, color palette, typography, and stuff like that. So feel free to add any additional prompts that you need. All right, so it's finished creating my style guide for me, and you can see that it has saved it into the marketing files folder. This is what it looks like right here. You can see that it included the logo on different background colors. It has the color palette, typography, so what kind of fonts you're going to use, and finally also image and graphic styles. And again, if there's anything you need added or removed, you can always go back into Claude Code and ask for that, being like, hey, I actually don't like this section. Can you replace it and make it better? The next person in our team is the social media manager, and they are usually responsible for creating all the different types of content that you need for social media. It is very important in this day and age for your company to exist on social media. That is basically free organic growth that can help you land the leads and clients that you need. In this session, I'm going to show you how you can batch create 10 different posts, each saved in its own folder. So for now, you'll want to go back to Visual Studio Code as you're going to go ahead and create another new file. And you're going to call this file Content Pillars. And again, it's a Markdown file. And here's what you'll copy and paste into this Markdown file. It basically includes instructions about your social media content pillars. Now, what are content pillars? They're basically key overlapping topics that you're going to be using on social media to discuss that is relevant to your company or to your brand. So for example, in my case, I am a YouTube channel on AI and teaching AI. So my content pillars would be AI tools and tutorials. For me, that's working mom life because that's what I am. I'm a mom. So that's something I feel like I can relate to with my audience. Digital products and incomes, personal finance tips, and stuff like that. It also has a sections for post format rules. So you can write here anything you like. For example, no more than 150 words per caption, including 5 to 7 relevant hashtags. Again, this is specific instructions that Claude Code is going to use. In this case, we're just going to be generating posts, so you do not have to worry about hashtags and stuff like that. But what's nice is that next time when you go into Claude Code and you ask, hey, can you write out a caption for me for this one post we created last week? You can do that because you already set the blueprint for what you want for captions. We're going to go back into Claude Code to include our prompt, and this is what I have right here. Read brand guide and content pillars MD. Make 10 sets of Instagram carousel posts and distribute them across those pillars mentioned in the content pillars markdown file. So here it says for each carousel post, create a separate folder and labeled it by number and also the title and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and press enter. It's something I want to point out. Claude Code just told me that the content pillars markdown file is empty. So it looks like I did not save that file. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So always make sure your markdown files are saved so that way Claude Code can access what it needs. And then we're going to go back into Claude Code. I'm going to say saved. All right, so this is what it has created for me. As you can see, there's like a title slide and then kind of like additional content slides. They're not as good as the previous ones I've created in the past. For example, you can see this one right here for personal finance. And a lot of this, you're going to need to edit it and ask it to improve it. So for example, right here, I don't know if you can see it. It's supposed to say 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings, but that font is in white and it's kind of like washed out with the background. So stuff like that, you do have to tweak and ask it to improve. And as you can see here in my history, I did have to go back and basically make some improvements in terms of what I'm asking for. So I did update the initial prompt that I gave you guys into the description below. So you should see a revised prompt that will help you to get more accurate results. And again, if it's not to your liking, just ask Claude Code for what you want and be very specific. Say, oh, I don't like the font on slide 1 of the first post. Something like that. The next role that we have is the email marketer, and they are usually in charge of writing a weekly form of newsletter or also any different types of sales that the company might be having. We're going to go ahead and create another markdown file in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go ahead and create file, new file, and this one's going to be called audience profile, MD. And here's the instructions that I'm going to include into this markdown file. It's going to provide very specific details on who my audience is, such as who they are, what they want, what they're struggling with, so their pain points, how they talk, what makes them open an email, and stuff like that. And again, this is basically giving Claude Code very specific information on your clientele, and providing this information helps Claude Code write the email in a way that you like. And again, make sure we go ahead and select save, and we're going to go back into Claude Code. And now we're going to include this prompt right here, which is read brand guide and audience profile markdown file. Write an email newsletter on this topic. So I listed out a bunch of topics. I also asked for it to be split up between subject line, preview text, main content, and also a call to action. It's also saying use the brand voice and style in brand guide and keep the total length under 400 words. Save it as a Word document called newsletter April 7. So that's another very specific thing that you can do. You can also ask for it to write a certain title for your file. Go ahead and press enter. And it looks like the document has been created. It shows you that it has been saved. What's nice about Claude Code, as you can see, it gives you a preview of what you've created so that way you don't have to go back and forth between the file and Claude Code. You can just read here what was generated and then decide if it's good enough or not, and also ask for improvements. So this looks good to me. So now let's go ahead and look at the Word document. As you can see, this is what it looks like. It has a subject line, preview text for the email, personal hook, main content, and call to action. Finally, the last person on your team is the marketing strategist, and they're usually involved with a lot of the metrics about your content. What's good about this task is that it'll look at your real numbers from all your different channels such as YouTube, email, social media, and also product sales, and then help you decide what's working and what's not. So the final Markdown file that you're going to have to create is monthly metrics. And here you'll just basically summarize all the different metrics from your month. So for example, for March, for YouTube, maybe you got 4,200 views, you got new subscribers 87. You're basically going to include all the different kinds of data that you can get, collect them, and then put them in here. And then once you have saved the file, you're going to go into Claude Code and you're going to enter this prompt right here, which is read brands guides, audience profile, content pillars, and monthly metrics. Based on this data, identify the top 3 things that work this month, identify gaps or missed opportunities, and give me a prioritized 30-day marketing plan for April with specific actions. This is a game changer because usually you would be spending so much time looking at all of your data and trying to figure out what is working and what's not. In this way, you can focus on not analyzing your data, but how to improve your product or your service. So now I pressed enter, it's going to do its work. So as you can see here, this is the strategy report that was created. It gives me the numbers for this month. So just as a glance, how many subscribers I have for emails, how many followers for Instagram, and also how many people downloaded like my digital products here. And then on the second page, it gives you a section on the top 3 things that worked in March and then what you should fix for April. And this is exactly like what our prompt asked for. So this is great. Finally, it also gave a week-by-week marketing plan as promised. So you can see here some of the actions that it has: publish a video, include this thumbnail text, a call to action, and for emailing, you can finish and activate your 3 email welcome sequence. And then on the last page, it also gives you some content recommendations and also what to create. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel. I post weekly videos on AI tools, breaking it down in plain English. This is especially helpful for people who want to build multiple income streams and also do more with less. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.